Hi, this is Mitch Mitchell. I'm just sharing. Got a special treat for you tonight. Going to be interviewing Steve Borek of In-Game Business, and his logo is Coaching Solutions for Sustainable Change. I've known Steve for about 3 or 4 years now. You know, he's a local guy, and he's been very successful with his coaching business, and he's certified. I'm going to let him talk all about the kinds of things he does, because I know there's still a lot of people who really don't have an idea of what coaching is all about. And I had mentioned early on in the promo that he did life coaching, and he doesn't really do that. But from what I've noticed, when you do any kind of coaching, sometimes some of it turns into life coaching. So I'm going to let him kind of talk about that too. So Steve, say hi to the audience and introduce yourself.
Hi, everybody. My name is Steve Borek, and I run a company called In-Game Business. It's a global coaching company. I work mostly with entrepreneurs as well as people that are in career transition. So my clients are worldwide, and I do most of my coaching by phone and or Skype. I do some on-site coaching, but mostly by phone and Skype.
So tell folks how you got into coaching. Give them just a little brief background. I know some of the background, but they're not going to know. Tell them a little background about what got you into this.
Sure. I was in the IT industry for over 23 years, and the last 12 or so I was in the ERP industry, enterprise applications. And even, I did kind of enjoy what I was doing, but the last 5 or 6 years were really trying on me. I mean, I dreaded going to work. I dreaded going to the whole idea of sales meetings and quotas and end of quarter, and the software industry actually became soft after Y2K, right around 2000. And the industry really changed, and what management was asking the sales force to do wasn't in alignment with my values and beliefs. And I remember saying, how am I ever going to get out of this career? I mean, I felt there was no way out. On The Sopranos, I forget what character he says, he always wanted to get out, but every time he does that, they bring me back in, right? And that's what happened to me. And then somewhere around winter or January, February, March, I think it was around the spring of 2005, I got an email from a self-help author that I bought a book from. He said, check out this webinar on coaching. I didn't know what it was. I checked it out, and I immediately knew that this was for me, that I had arrived. So I did my analysis. I usually analyze things 8 ways to Sunday, but I didn't analyze this too long. I did my research, but I knew I wanted to be what's called an ICF certified coach, International Coach Federation. So I wanted to go to a school that was accredited by the ICF. I narrowed it down to a couple of schools, gave them my $3,000 for the Core Essentials program, went through that in the first year, gave them another $3,000 for the advanced program, and the rest is history.
Goodness. So now, do you have just one certification, or do you have multiple?
I have multiple certifications, yes. So currently I'm a PCC, Professional Certified Coach. I've also got what's called a BCC, a Board Certified Coach. And I'm a Coach U Certified Graduate, which I'm also a faculty leader at. So, I have an MBA. There's a lot of alphabet soup after my name. I just love coaching. That's all I know. But I believe in certification, so I'm always looking to raise my game, improve my skills, and deliver more value to my clients.
Now, tell about the first time you got a client and what that was like. That had to be kind of an interesting thing. Was it much different than what you were doing beforehand, or was it something that you just kind of fell into?
When I got my first client?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember getting my first client. I think what I did was I cold called the Oswego Chamber of Commerce directory. That's what I did. And I wound up getting this woman. I'm sorry, but I forget her name. and I told her that I was going through coach certification, which she'd like to be a client. And coaching was 180 degrees opposite of what I was doing in sales. So when you're in sales, your focus is on making a sale. You do go through a discovery process with the customer, with the client, and you're trying to solve a problem. Okay, you're in problem-solving mode. As a coach, I'm not in problem-solving mode. All right, I'm helping the client. The client is going to be able to solve the problem. What I'm doing is asking powerful questions. So the biggest shift I had to make, Mitch, was go from, problem-solving, fixing this solution. I mean, my personality. I'm kind of hands-on, and I want to, get to it right away. With coaching, it's totally different. So it took a while for me to make that shift as far as those skills, and I'm glad I did. In fact, I wish I knew about coaching back when I was a sales professional, because I would have been a lot better salesperson, because I would have asked a lot more questions, versus talking all the time.
So in essence, when you're doing the coaching with someone, you're helping them to feel more comfortable with promoting their business, doing their business.
So sometimes sometimes it's the how and the why and the what. But for me to get a person from where they are to where they want to be, I really want to get to the who. Understand who they are. All right? What do I mean by that? I could take 10 people that are in the same business. All right? So let's say I have 10 clients, all in the same business. The way they're going to design their business, how they're going to get to making it successful, probably is going to be different for all of them. So I have to help them to determine what's the best way for them to do it, okay, versus the next person. I say to clients, if I had a manual, on how to build the perfect business, whatever the business they're in, and I gave it to them, the odds are that they're probably not going to read it. Right? And even if they do read it, they're not going to agree with everything that's in there. Right? So what my job to do as a coach is determine what would be the best way for this entrepreneur to go about building that business. And that's what makes it so much fun. It's almost like an improv every single time. I don't have a cookie-cutter approach to what I do. It's adaptable.
I know that with life coaching, there's always a lot of paperwork, that's what I'm going to call it, that is given to people to do these self-assessments of themselves. Write down 10 goals you'd love to have for life. If you had unlimited money, what would you do here? Different things like that. I know you have some tools, but I'm not sure if they're for coaching or some of the other things you do, because you also do training seminars. You travel around the country doing some of those. So when you're doing coaching, do you do some of that?
Yes, and it all depends upon the client. Okay, so I have a form that I give to every new client, and it helps them prepare for the call. All right, and there's straightforward questions. What did you accomplish this week? Did you say what you said? Did you do what you said you were going to do on the last call? If not, what got in the way? What would you like the focus of this coaching call to be on? All right, but not a lot of people want to do that. All right, I have some clients that really enjoy it. It's a great tool, and others don't care for it. I do have. I'm also certified in a certain number of behavioral assessments. that I can give to a client. The one I use is called Trimetrics A to D, which measures how they behave, why they behave the way they do, what drives them, what are their motivators. Are they motivated by motivated by money? Are they motivated by I don't know, aesthetics? Are they motivated by learning new things? Are they individualistic and they just want to be at the top of their company or at the top of their industry? So I have things like that, and then I have other tools that I can go to, as far as paper tools that I could send to a client. Like there's one called the Wheel of Life exercise. So you're talking about life coaching, right? Because you introduced me for this hangout that I'm a life coach, and I said, bitch, I'm not really a life coach. I'm an entrepreneur and a career coach. However, what you said is,
but you just pulled out Wheel of Life, and I've actually got that one.
You've got that one. Yeah. So what happens is I'm mostly working with business owners or their teams or high potential in a company. But when you're coaching someone, this used to bother me. I would go to networking events and I would tell them I'm a coach, and they'd say, "Oh, you're one of those life coaches," and inside I was like mad. Upset. I'm not one of those touchy-feely life coaches. No, I'm a business coach. However, the light went on a number of years ago that clients tell me everything. They tell me everything. Why do they tell me everything? Well, in this Wheel of Life exercise, and sometimes they do the Wheel of Life and sometimes they don't. Think of the Wheel of Life like a for our audience, think of a pie, a pie chart with a bunch of slices of pie. Sorry if you're on a diet, but it's a Wheel of Life slice of pie, and that wheel is made up of slices of family, career, money, health and wellness, physical environment, maybe spirituality, and so what happens is let's say I'm coaching a business client, and their marriage is not doing well, right? That slice of that wheel is not going to be all the way out to the perimeter. It's going to be shorter than the other slices. That will cause the wheel to roll wobbly, right? So we want that wheel to roll as smooth as possible. So if they're having a problem with their marriage, if their health is not good, if they're having a problem with finances, we need to talk about that. And they usually will bring that up. So I came to realize that it's all about life coaching.
Exactly. The first or second time where I actually got to talk to someone who wanted to talk about their business, it was almost all about personal life. It was about the things that this guy believed in his personal life that were ruining his business. And not just his relationship at home, but his relationship with people in general, and how he was treating people that he met for business was the exact same way. And I just did this one little thing, and he suddenly had this revelation. And I just basically asked one question. I said, "How do you like it when people do that to you?" And he didn't like it. So I said, "Well, and that sometimes people don't see that's how that is, and that's why I sometimes associate life in the business coaching thing exactly for the reason that you just said."
You're right, because they have blind spots, right? So you and you made a good observation. So if they're doing that, if I'm coaching a client and I'm seeing a pattern of behavior and seeing how they're showing up, on the calls and things that they're talking about and how they're going about it, and their behavior, if they're doing that to me or with us in that partnership coaching conversation, they're probably doing that in the rest of their life. Right? So it's something that I will bring up. I'll go with my intuition. I'll say, I'm seeing something here. Do you mind if I bring it up? So yeah, it's all life coaching. And people tell me everything. They tell me everything, and I'm thankful that I give them that space, that they trust me to share that with me. And the coaching conversation is confidential. I abide by the code and ethics of the ICF. And it's just, I've seen some really serious stuff. And I've seen them get through it. And once they get through it, and they solve that issue, whatever it might be, their business gets better. Their whole life gets better.
Absolutely. Now, I'm going to ask you a different question than what you may be expecting.
Okay.
The question I'm going to ask you is, how do you feel when things don't go right? Because I know that just because someone may eventually cross the line and say, let's try coaching, it doesn't always work. And I've always wondered if it's because they really weren't ready for it. They thought you were going to fix them or take over their life. What do you think about that?
Okay, so what's your specific question?
Why doesn't it work sometimes?
It doesn't work because they're not committed. Plain and simple. And why aren't they committed? It could be so many different reasons. You know, maybe they've got some other things going on in their life that it's just consuming them. You know, there are times when, you know, I'm going to talk about, well, I could say about career transition or work with entrepreneurs. You know, sometimes they don't want to be in that position. You know, sometimes they don't want to be in that job. Sometimes they don't want to be in that business. You know, it's really not lighting them up. All right, so I'll challenge clients like that. I'll say, you know, do you really want to be doing this, or would you rather be doing something else? So it gets back to one of my favorite words is authenticity. You know, if you're authentic and you're really doing what you love to do and what you want to do, and you're committed, you will be successful. There's a, I don't know who said it, maybe Jim Rohn said something like, you know, if you're committed, you'll find a way, and if you're not committed, you'll find an excuse. I mean, plain and simple. So that's what it comes down to. But it also comes down to the authenticity and do they really want to be, you know, where they're at? If not, let's transition them out, or let's help them to create a business. Maybe they're in the right business, but they're not having fun at it. Let's help them create a business where they are having fun. A lot of people have myths about what they can't do. So I help to give them clarity in that area as well.
So now, isn't it interesting that because coaching, depending on who's doing it, isn't necessarily cheap, but those who don't succeed, it actually proves once again that money really isn't the driver. Because, you know, there's a lot of people who say, you know what, if I'm going to spend $2,000 for this or $3,000 for this, I'm going to be committed to it. But the truth of the matter is, sometimes it just has nothing to do with the money.
You're right. You're right. When you say it has nothing to do with the money, what do you mean? Paying for the service, or
Yes.
they want to make more money?
Yeah, like they paid you this. I'm just throwing out the dollar. I'm not saying this is what you charge people. I'm not saying this is what he charges. But there are people who charge $2,000, $3,000, $5,000, whatever, and someone will go into it and not take advantage of it and not listen. And the prevailing thought by a lot of people is, well, if I pay this money for it, this shows I'm serious and I'm going to go through with it. But that turns out not to be true. It's an interesting disconnect. Kind of the same story about employees in most companies where everyone thinks all we have to do is throw money at them and they will be happy. And it turns out money is way down on the list.
Exactly. So you got to find out what motivates people. I mean, we've all, I don't know, we've all taken programs. you know, where we maybe not spent a couple. Well, I've taken some significant programs where I've taken it and I was happy enough just to learn, but not incorporated into, you know, what I wanted to do. You know, a lot of times people will go to if they're investing in a coach, or if they're going to just go to a seminar, right? What happens when you go to a seminar? If it's a good one, well, you leave like walking 10 feet off the ground, right?
Yep.
You know, you're high as a kite, and you're saying, "Yep, man, now I'm ready, I'm ready, I'm ready." And then what happens after a week or two, if you're lucky? You drift back down to earth, right? You're just not committed. So, and that happens with training when companies send their people to training. I saw a statistic one time. Getting back to sustainability, that's what business owners in corporate America, organizations want. They want to invest in some kind of training or coaching that is sustainable. All right, training alone, I don't believe is sustainable. Coaching, having a coach is. There was a stat that came out many years ago, and it said that if you send people away to training, the productivity will be about 20%. But I don't remember how long it lasted. They said if you incorporated training with coaching after they got back, that went up to over 80%. 80%. So I got off a little bit offline, but I would say the majority of the time, people I've worked with, if they invest in a coaching relationship with me or a career transition program with me, it is sustainable. It is sustainable. So I don't know. Maybe I don't know if I'm a good coach, or maybe I'm good at attracting brilliant clients. I don't know. But there are certain people that, no matter what you do, you know, I'm going to do two things with a client. I'm going to deliver great coaching, the best coaching I know how. And the second thing I'm going to do is I'm going to upgrade my skills on a consistent basis, year in and year out. So I can deliver great coaching, but I've seen people do nothing with it. I've done some average coaching, and I've seen people do fantastic things with it, right? So there's 3 rules to coaching. Rule number 1, the client does the work. Rule number 2 is the client does the work. And I'll let you guess what rule number 3 is. Right? Does the work, yeah. So it's Marshall Goldsmith. I don't know if you know Marshall Goldsmith at all.
No.
All right, he's a coach that charges really big cake. He works with Fortune 500 companies. He usually works with them for about a year, 18 months, and they only pay him if they're successful. And they're working with leaders. And the way he determines success is the team. We do what's called a 360. Well, Marshall does a 360, and I'll do it. It's a 360 assessment where the team will basically rate the leader on what they're doing well and what they're not doing well. All right? So they take a 360 in the beginning, and then you coach with Marshall Goldsmith or me or some other coach for a certain period of time, and then you take a look at, let's say in a year, we do another 360. So the team determines, how well the leader has changed. But Marshall Goldsmith told this great story. He was coaching. He's the CEO of Ford who just retired. Alan Mulhavey or something like that. Well, this person was an executive at Boeing many years ago, and Marshall Goldsmith was his coach. And Marshall noticed something different about Alan. Hopefully that's his name. He noticed that Alan, out of all of his clients, he spent the least amount of time with him. However, as a leader, Alan was achieving so much more success than all of his other clients. So Marshall came up to him and asked him that one day. He had that observation. Now, I've worked with you less, but you're achieving so much more than all my other clients. And the leader, Alan, said, it's not about you as a coach. It's about me. Am I committed? Am I going to get the results? So it really goes back to the client. Always does.
I like that. I like that. Now, another weird question, but I got to ask it. Do you think that it works better?
I haven't asked a weird question yet, so go ahead.
Okay. Well, do you think it works better when the coach and the person being coached aren't necessarily close? And I ask that because I could definitely use your coaching, but part of me says, you know what, I know him too well. I mean, we go out to lunch, we've been out to dinner, and we do all this thing. And it's kind of like I don't want to hang out with my doctor because I've just seen stuff that I don't want, And so maybe that's just me personally, but I want to know what your thought is on that.
I think it's situational. It all depends. It all depends. Can you coach people that you're friends with? Of course. But I think it depends upon the coach as well as the client. They have to make that determination. But yes, it definitely could work.
Cool. Now, you do individual, but you also do some group coaching. How does that work? I mean, I know how it works. The question I'm looking to say is, do people respond as well in groups as they will one-on-one? And do some people prefer the group as opposed to the one-on-one?
Well, I'm doing works with groups or teams. They're usually heading towards one goal. And in that situation, I'm more of a facilitator. Okay, I am a coach, but it's also part facilitator. But nothing changes really. The significant difference is, with the team dynamics, the group dynamics.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got all different personalities, you've got all different types of egos, and getting everybody to move forward in the same direction. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. So I do mostly individual coaching, but I really do enjoy doing the group stuff as well.
Now, when you go
ahead.
Now, when you go out of town and give presentations, tell folks what that's about, because obviously that's not a coaching session.
Well, mostly when I go out of town, it's usually I'm going to be working with a company, a specific company. So right now my business is not set up where Steve Borek In-Game Business is going to be in Seattle, Washington, and then all these different companies are going to come. My business is not set up that way. It's set up company specific. So what I do is I'll tailor a program specifically for them. So sometimes it's individual coaching. Sometimes it's doing a leadership workshop. So I've got a leadership workshop called the Leadership Challenge, and I'll take a company through that. And then that's like a 2-day workshop. And then once I leave, I'll do follow-up coaching on a regular basis, usually between 6 to 12 months with those leaders.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you're talking about companies and doing leadership, and I've done only one of those with a company, but I was part of one when I was with a company, and in my opinion, they brought the wrong guy because he thought that he could fit the company within the parameters of his stuff, but it didn't work, especially because we were a hospital. So he came with all these assessments, and he gave it to these nurses, thinking, anyone can answer these questions, but there wasn't a single thing on the assessment that fit what nurses did. And the first day he showed up, he got mad at him which didn't make any sense to me. You're the leadership guy, and you're mad at the people because they couldn't understand what it was.
Okay.
And here's your thing about trying to tailor for other groups.
Yes.
Goodness.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
You got to do your due diligence and pick somebody that's a good fit. Absolutely.
Yep. So we're getting close to the end, and
wow, this has gone by quickly.
Well, yeah. You know what? We're pretty much at 30 minutes already, believe it or not.
Wow. Okay.
So it's time, Mr. Borek.
Yes.
What is the secret to success?
What's the secret to success? I think that it's an individual thing, but if I can answer it broadly, it comes down to being authentic about who you are and what you're doing. I think the statistics show that 71% of the people out there, in fact, I saw another stat that it said 85% of the people are disengaged from their jobs, right? They are, mentally checked out, that they just don't want to be there. And so they're living a lie. They're in a position where they're really not enjoying themselves. So why not transition out of that into something else? Now, if you're talking about, let's say, an entrepreneur, in regard to success, is that maybe where you wanted to go?
Not necessarily.
Oh, okay.
No,
right.
Yeah, it would just let people know this was based off a video that I did that I saw it as a global thought, and this is where Steve had wanted to present his view on this. So no, I'm not talking about, I mean people in general, overall. You can go entrepreneur, but I'm talking about everybody.
Yeah, and you had said that you thought it was selling.
Marketing.
Well, there's a difference between marketing and selling, right?
Exactly.
So,
I tend to believe it's marketing because a lot of people our age, I can say, were brought up with the thing, don't brag about yourself. Don't talk about yourself. People will notice what it is you do, and they will reward you. And the truth of the matter is that doesn't happen because there's too many people, time moves too fast, and if you don't kind of talk about yourself in some way or show people what it is you do, then you're going to fall behind. And it works, in my opinion, with business. It works with personal relationships. It works with everything. If people don't know who you are, you might have some success, but to ultimate success, to those kind of things that everyone wants to say, your best profit is nothing if nobody knows who that profit is. So
yeah, I think getting exposure is important. I'll speak to it from a business standpoint. I think his name is J. Conrad Levinson, says that 4,000 to 5,000 people need to know about what you do. And when you hit that, say, 5,000 person mark, business will come towards you. All right. Until then, there's a lot of work in regards to marketing. Marketing is creating awareness, not selling. But what I find with people in regards to success is they've got to be authentic. I'm reading a book about passion now. I forget the name of it. Just started it today. But I've always believed that. I believe you've got to be passionate about what you do. And I mean, it's got to be genuine passion. It can't be this fake passion, all right, where you're putting on an act.
So it can't be Jim the Hammer Shapiro.
What's that?
It can't be Jim the Hammer Shapiro.
Okay, all right, exactly. So it's got to be genuine because people can see through that. I like working with folks. I really love clients where they are passionate about what they do, and I like doing business with people that are passionate about what they do. Buying from them. Yeah, you can always spot them because they're always like. I think of them. They're like almost on another planet. I'm paying them kudos. I'm paying them respect. So I'm not making fun of them, but they're almost a little crazy, right? but you know it when you see it, that they were authentic, they were passionate. There's nothing that they would rather be doing than that, either that career or that business or whatever. And basically showing who you really are. And that goes with, you know, not just business, but also personal relationships. You've got to be who you are. You can't be somebody that you're not. I mean, there's a reason why, you know, those actors get $10, $20 million for what they do. They're really good at it. You know, I was on another interview, and I had told people that I spent 23 years in the IT industry and sales, and it handsomely paid the light bill, and but it didn't light me up. It didn't light me up. And I can go back to my undergraduate degree. I was in my second or third year, and I was taking this course called Industrial Psychology, and it was all about, you know, all the people stuff, the soft stuff, the behaviors. You know, you analyze people, you analyze teams, get them to work together, and boy, the adrenaline rush that I had. And then I said, boy, this is where I belong. And I'm not going to tell you what year it was, but coaching wasn't even around then. But I was passionate about it. And then I had a management professor. He talked me out of it. And I got an accounting and finance degree and turned my knowledge of debits and credits into selling accounting applications on PCs when they first came out, and then bigger iron, and then ERP systems. And then decades later, I found out about coaching, and instantly I knew that that was who I was. Right? So I was living a lie for all those years. You know, I produced plays, right? So I produced 8 plays since 2006. I've kind of taken a sabbatical from that.
And it's something else I have in common, because I love theater.
Yes, exactly. And so when I was a teenager growing up, I thought, you know, maybe I'll be a cameraman and be behind the scenes, and that's what I'm going to do. That was where my passion was. But I never went after that. But then decades later, I had this opportunity to produce a play. They asked me. At first, I said, I can't do that. And they said, yes, you can. And I did the first one. They thought I did a great job. They must have, because I did 7 more. So what you have to do, I think, to be successful, passion and authenticity isn't enough, but you have to have that. You know, without that, you know, you're not going to make it for the long haul, because you're going to hit speed bumps, you're going to hit obstacles, and when you hit those, if you're not really jazzed about what you're doing or believe what you're doing, it's going to be too easy to throw in the towel. It'll be too easy to, I was reading a book today, to release the pin and unhook the train cars. It's too easy to check out. But when you're really focused in on, and it aligns with your values and who you are, you need that. Then you need to be very good at what you do. And then selling does come into it. But I'll have to say that I don't think I've ever sold anybody on coaching. I've never sold anyone on coaching. I'll ask them some questions, and based on that, you know, invite them in. So I'm looking for people to enroll, you know, versus people to sell to. And it's a that's the way I like it. That's the way I like it. Sometimes I will ask deeper questions. For example, I had a gentleman that went through a program that I do for individuals on a personal basis. It's called Now What? 90 Days to a New Life Direction. So it's a 12-week program. I get people that they can't stand what they're doing. So I had this one gentleman that he's going bankrupt. He's going bankrupt. Foreclosed on his house, and he says, Steve, I don't know how I'm going to get the money. I want to work with you. I don't know how I'm going to get the money. So I asked him some questions, and he says, well, you know, maybe I'll do this in a couple of months. And I said, well, what's going to be different in 2 months from now? What's going to be different? And I let him settle with that question for a while, And within a couple of weeks, he called me back. He found the money. Okay? So talking about the money, I'm getting a little bit off track. When someone wants to improve their life, if they want to improve their business, if they want to improve their career, and it comes to making a significant investment, I can unequivocally say it is never about the money. Now, unless you're on food stamps, okay, it is never about the money. It's about lack of commitment. Okay? And I've seen some amazing things happen with people. Did I answer your question about success?
You got there. But and just to add this, I like your answer. It's different than mine, but I like your answer because there are people who make it, who actually end up successful, at least in the eyes of a lot of people, who aren't happy about it. And, you know, you hear about the drugs and the alcohol, and, you know, some of these people end up dying really young because they just weren't happy with it. So, whereas I still think that marketing, because you want to get known, if you don't have the passion and you don't feel good about yourself, then you're still wasting your time, because you will find that you've now got the success and the money and everything, and you're not happy, and what good is that?
So it all goes back to that wheel of life that we talked about, you know, the life coaching. It's all life coaching. So everything in their life has to be doing fairly well, you know, for them to be successful. But you're right. You know, there are people that have made tons of money. I just took a guy through my Noah program. Sorry to bring that up again, but it's germane to our discussion. He is a boomer executive making huge cake, you know, solid 6 figures, right? More. And he wasn't happy. He wasn't happy. On the first call, I was talking to him, and I'm saying to myself, this guy has everything. He has everything. I mean, well-rounded, everything. But he wasn't happy. And because that organization wasn't aligning with his values. Okay? And right around the 8th or 9th week, this just happened. The reason I'm bringing this up a couple of weeks ago, he started a process with another company, and he wound up with what he was focused on when we began. When we began, he had no idea. Right around the 8th or 9th week, he started a process with the company, and he's starting his new job actually next Monday with the dream job of his career. Not only did he do that, but he also has a plan to open his own business. He's also got a plan to do some significant volunteer work. He's got a plan to write a book. And he also worked on his long-term end game in regards to where he wanted to retire. So money, you're right, money doesn't buy happiness. But once it's not what you get to do in life, it's who you get to become, okay, while you're doing it. That's the key.
So that's a great coach ending. I like that. So, folks, this is Steve Borek. I'm going to let you tell everyone what it is you do, you know, your final promotion. But I want to mention that Steve has a blog on his website. You see his website down below, his name there, ingamebusiness.com. He's got a blog, and he does very well with it. I actually like it. I do read it. I don't always comment on everything, but I do read it. And I think you can get some good lessons and some good feel-good moments sometimes.
I've got to give kudos to Mitch, because Mitch is the one that got me started blogging. Come this August, it's going to be 3 years. I tried blogging for a couple of weeks, number of years ago, and I wasn't committed to it. And I know the secret to blogging is you have to be consistent. You know, whether it's one blog a month, one blog every bi-weekly, or one blog a week, or 2 blogs a week, whatever you say you're going to do what you say you're going to do. Otherwise, people are not going to follow. So I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. It was 3 years ago. See, these are the moments, right, that change people, right? These are like, everybody knows where they were on 9/11. Maybe this isn't a great analogy. Everyone knows. I know exactly where I was, where we were when you convinced me to start blogging. I knew exactly where I was when I got into coaching. You know, those moments are that significant to me. And you said to me, we're walking in Onondaga Lake Park. You said, Steve, you should blog. You got things to share. You can help people. So you've got things that people want to hear. And I'm saying, who, me? And you gave me just a little bit of a nudge, And I said, all right, I'm going to create a personal contract with myself that come hell or high water, every Sunday evening, I am sending out a post. You know, whether it's good, bad, or maybe I think it's above average, I'm going to send something out. And so I have to, I'm glad that you mentioned it, because I've mentioned it in my blog, I've written about it, but I wanted to publicly acknowledge you and thank you so much for giving me that little nudge to get out there. I'll never forget it.
No problem. And you've proven me right, because you do have a lot to say and they're great messages. So thank you for sticking with it. So here you go. Tell everyone where they can find you. Tell them what you do really quick. And this is your sales promotion. Folks, this is Steve Borek.
Okay, well, you know, I work mostly with entrepreneurs on their business. It could be, you know, medium, large companies, or it could be solopreneurs. And you can find me at endgamebusiness.com. You can just Google my name, Steve Borek, B as in boy, O-R-E-K, and you can find out all about me. I do write a blog. If you want to take your business to the next plateau, those are the types of people I enjoy working with, whether it's a business or even a nonprofit. And then the other chunk of my business is career transition. So if you're in a career that's paying the light bill but it's not lighting you up, I've got a perfect 12-week program for you. It's called Now What? 90 Days to a New Life Direction. And you can give me a call. You go to my website. My number's there, 315-849-1057. If you're seeing this on the other side of the planet, I've had, you know, clients in Asia, South Korea, Australia. So we can do our coaching by Skype as well. And Mitch, thank you for the opportunity to do this. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so much.
I'm glad you did. And of course, just to prove that I ain't no darn good, people can find out everything about Steve except one thing. He's got really big feet.
I am 6'5". 6'5", and everybody says I do have a size 16 shoe. And they'll say, have you played basketball? My normal response to that is, yeah, I was fairly decent. I would say, you know that movie White Men Can't Jump? And they go, yeah. I said, well, that movie was based on my lack of up ability. So I have to box out for my balance. But anyway, yeah,
if you had a jump shot, you'd have been a killer.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, thank you, folks, and thank you, Steve, for the interview. I'm Mitch Mitchell of I'm Just Sharing. I have shared another one with you. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope people come back and watch it later on. Take care. See you later.